18th century China probably was the wealthiest, most powerful, most culturally civilized countries in the world.
Back in 1790, Britain's East India Company was busy keeping up with the Brits' insatiable demand for tea, shipping around 10,000 leaves from East Asia to London every year, most of it grown in China. But there was one major issue. China would only accept payment in silver, and Britain was fast running out of it.
China hoarded all the silver that came in through the tea trade. So in order for the tea trade to go on, the foreigners need to get some of that silver out.
So the East India Company had an idea. Create demand for a product that they could easily source on a grand scale from the British colony of India, opium. Before long, more opium was being imported into China than tea was being exported to Britain. Addiction skyrocketed.
It's a culture of consumption, it's leisure, it's entertainment, and it's embedded within Chinese culture because when you have guests coming, you offer them a pipe because it's polite, because it was the most expensive thing. And then you go to a restaurant, you have a meal, and then here's a pipe. And you go to the brothel, especially men, the first thing you do is have a round of smoke, and then you get on to do other business. So it's deeply embedded in Chinese popular culture. It's very hard to get rid of.
Smoking opium was finally outlawed by the Qing government, but Britain ignored that and continued to smuggle it into the country anyway.
The destructive nature of opium was very obvious by the 1830s, on the eve of the Opium War. You have people dying on the street. You have men selling their business, selling their wives, selling their children because they're so addicted. People have no money to pay taxes, business go bust. What happens is local governments go bankrupt. That is why the emperor decided and declare war on opium. It's not because he cared about the people who died on the street. It's about money.
So the Qing government took action and destroyed thousands of opium containers. When a British envoy arrived in Canton in 1839 to demand compensation, China refused, so Britain declared war, leading China to a humiliating defeat.
The origins of the Opium War is really not quite opium, you know. It's kind of a wrong name. You could call it the Tea War, or you could call it the Silver War. It kind of served as a wake-up call for many Chinese officials who realized China was falling behind and China needed to change.
The war ended in 1842 with the signing of the Treaty of Nanjing. The treaty forced China to open up ports to British trade, cede Hong Kong, and pay for the cost of the war. This marked the beginning of China's century of humiliation.
The Treaty of Nanjing, it began what Zhang King Fairbank, sort of the godfather of Chinese history, called the century of unequal treaties, because immediately after the treaty was signed, the French and the Russians and the Americans and just about everybody would come along. So it's kind of a watershed moment in modern Chinese history.
In 1856, with tens of millions of Chinese still in the grip of addiction, the Chinese seized a ship suspected of smuggling opium, providing an opportunity for Britain to declare war once again. It was bloodier and far more damaging than the first, and led to yet more punitive treaties with more foreign powers.
It's so sad that the scramble for China left a huge scar on the national memory.
China's addiction to opium finally ended under Chairman Mao in 1953, but the legacy of the Opium Wars continues to this day.
Everything China is doing today is to prove to you, to the West, we are better than you are. And of course, the political consequences that we all see today, China become very aggressive. It's because she suffered so much.